The Face Mask project is made up of 7 final year BA graphic art and design students, overseen by Andy Edwards as our academic tutor. We were approached by Mark Warner and Gemma Reed with a brief aiming to see the collection and correct disposal of face masks through a piece of creative design. Our response to this brief as a team has been made up of 2 parts. The first part, as you can see here, is the more digital side of the campaign, so coming up with a logo, our slogan being check, cut, chuck, and also coming up with poster designs that we could use as publicity and for our social media page. We also worked on creating graphics that would show the detrimental effect that incorrectly disposed of face masks are having on our planet. It was important for us to show all these statistics and research that had gone into it in a creative way, both for the social media page and also as potential advertisement. So building up our social media page, we decided to have some illustrations of animals coming into contact with face masks, followed by a quote, and then our logo and slogan to sort of tie it all together as an awareness piece, trying to get people to realise what's actually going on with face masks not being disposed of properly and how it's actually affecting our planet, to try and get people to check for their face masks, make sure to cut the straps and to chuck them away properly. The second part to our solution was to make a piece of design that could collect face masks and see that they're disposed of properly. When looking for inspiration for the structure, we found Jack Colmer's bin bag dispenser in Hyde Park. We'd seen how much traction it got and how effective it was in cleaning up Woodhouse Moor, and started brainstorming ideas of structures that could be similar to this and hopefully have the same kind of traction and effect, but in picking up face masks. The result is a concept structure face mask bin. The idea is that on each of these bins, where we plan to build 3, there's a sort of voting system where you can vote with your face mask. In this case, for Leeds Beckett or the University of Leeds, with your face mask by placing it into that particular segment of the box. We hope that having this sort of process will mean that face masks are collected quite quickly, as I'm sure people feel quite strongly about their university, and giving the people this sort of power to vote with their face mask hopefully will mean that we can collect them much quicker. And obviously we spoke about the end point of these face masks. Once they're collected, we want to see that they're disposed of properly and recycled. So in researching companies that recycle face masks, we came across Reworked, who basically turn PPE into this material board, which can be used for all sorts of things. And it's just a great company that see that face masks are recycled and put to a different use. So we got in contact with Reworked, basically proposing our project, and we're at the stage now where they're keen to get on board, and we're hopefully going to set up a system where the face masks that we collect, we send through to them to see that they are properly disposed of and recycled. We also want to try and incorporate part of this board that's made from the PPE face masks into our structure, because it would be great to say that the structure is made out of PPE for PPE. So hopefully this sort of comes full circle and answers the brief in not only collecting up the face masks off the streets of Leeds, but also seeing that they're made of good use and recycled and turned into this new material, and are not ending up in our seas and in landfill. Thank you.
We'll start. Do you guys just want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Luke MacMahon and I'm the manager of this project.
Nice.
I'm Christine Andrieux. I'm one of the teammates.
And I'm Benjamin Kirkman, and I'm also one of the team members.
Awesome. And I'm Gemma. I was part of the team that approached you with the brief. Obviously, we approached you with a brief. What kind of made you want to take this brief up? Because I know there were other options that you guys maybe could have done, but this one kind of stood out to you.
Well, for me personally, the theme of environmental, making a positive impact through a piece of design. I was walking around the streets of Leeds, seeing a lot of face masks on the floor, and thought this brief could be a really good answer to that problem. Really like the idea of working as a team to try and come up with a piece of creative design that could try and help that. And that's also why I put myself forward to be the manager, because I really wanted it to see it have a positive impact, further than just being a university brief. So for me personally, that's what drew me to the brief.
Nice. Yeah.
I think. Sorry. I think the same for me. Just working in a brief that's kind of sort of based in sort of environmental activism and stuff. Being able to work with a team and explore these different kind of ways of approaching a brief was just very, very sort of interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree. Working with a team was really important to me because I've never done it before, and it worked out very well. Like, we all worked very well together. And like Luke, I saw so many masks everywhere, and I kept thinking about it, and I felt like not many people were actually talking about it and doing anything about it. So being able to make a difference was kind of like what attracted me to it.
Yeah, so it's something that you'd all kind of seen anyway. So when this came up, you were like, "Oh, amazing!" That's something you were thinking of. So there's a lot of. So you've got your digital campaign, and there's a lot of facts and stats and stuff on there. How big of a problem are face masks actually creating? Because I know you guys have done a lot of sort of research into that.
So one of the things that really shocked me when we were researching it and exploring the problem is that the material that face masks is made out of, polypropylene, isn't recyclable. It takes around 450 years to biodegrade, which obviously is a massive problem because that's just an environmental time bomb. It's just going to stay in the ocean. So it's really something that needs to be addressed because, at the moment it can be expected that around 75% of all the face masks being used are ending up in landfill and in the oceans. So it's a massive problem that really needs to be addressed. And, if this can be the start of that, then that's great if it can get other people on board. So for me, yeah, that's what really, really shocked me about the research and made me realize quite how big of a problem it is.
Yeah, I mean, since obviously all the pandemic started, statistics have shown we've used sort of up to 129 billion masks per month.
Wow.
And if 75% of those are obviously just ending up in landfill, that's still billions of masks. And obviously, like Luke said, the recycling opportunities for them are so few and far between, and those that are there are so expensive to do. I kind of felt responsible for us to try and do something about it.
Yeah.
Also, a good image is that there's more masks in the sea than jellyfish, and when you think of that, you can tell children that, and they would react because obviously you can say, 10 millions of masks, only 1%. Children or younger people might not understand, or even some people might not really actually can tell how big it is. But if you think that there's more masks than jellyfish, you just realize how big of a
definitely.
it is.
Yeah, that definitely gives it some kind of imagery and perspective. Like I can almost like see masks in the sea, about 5 little masks, and then just one just jellyfish. So that's crazy. That is so crazy. So on the bins, on the voting ballots, there's a feature on it so you can cut the strings. Why is it so important for people to be able to cut the strings on it rather than just sticking it straight in?
So the idea behind that is it kind of comes back to, you know, when you get like a 6-pack of drinks and they're held by the plastic. Just having that loop means that if it's ending up in the ocean, it's very easy for sea life to get caught up in it. You know, a lot of the pictures that you see of turtles and things like that have their neck caught around it. So it's the same idea with the face mask straps being that loop, is that it's so easy for it to strangle and get caught up. And, you know, if that can be cut, then at least that's breaking the loop, and hopefully just means that at least if it comes across a turtle or some sort of sea life, it's not going to latch itself onto it as much, hopefully. So it's sort of every little helps sort of thing with that. Yeah,
because I know yours are going to go towards reworked and hopefully sort of go full cycle, which is absolutely amazing. But if people have put them before they put them in, that's a great reminder, because, you know, everybody cuts the 6-packs now. And
well, yeah, exactly.
So
for the bins for reworked, the whole material, the whole mask is getting melted down, but it's more about sending the message to people, the bigger message about cutting the straps, so that if they're not going to be put through reworked or recycled, then at least if the straps are cut, then it's going to minimize that damage. So that sort of side of things, the cutting of the check, cut, chuck of our slogan, is for more of a global outreach and just trying to help the problem in that way.
Yeah, because I suppose you guys can't be there and follow everyone around and go, cut that. So just bringing attention and awareness to it is
exactly
going to have a huge impact on its own, on top of everything. So you've got 3 bins that are going to get put up and put around. Do you kind of have a target number, expected number of how many you think it's going to collect, or is it just kind of hoping for the best? Or
yeah, so we obviously got in touch with Reworked and are going to be sending them masks, and so they sent us a bin to fill which can collect 2,000 to 3,000 masks, which obviously isn't a lot, but it's a great start. And our hope, like I say, is that it's going to spark other people to get involved with Reworked or to start up a similar service like them. So just that initial sort of impact will hopefully, you know, have much more of an outreach than just the 3,000 masks that we start to collect. But yeah, that's the initial number.
Yeah, I suppose ideally we'd like to kind of get in touch with Reworked again and let them have them let us send them more, and hopefully like kind of smash through that 3,000.
Yeah. And I think, you know, where possible, if we were able to pass on this sort of contact that we've made with Reworked, and, you know, the bins that we set up to someone else that's still going to be in Leeds, you know, I don't know, someone sustainability team or something like that, to just keep it going, because obviously with restrictions being eased, more and more face masks are going to be dumped. So, you know, the problem is going to go on for a few more months, and there's only going to be more masks that need to be recycled.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen the example of putting the 2 different universities on for people to vote through. I think that's a great idea. I think that's going to spark real conversation. I think it's going to create a real sort of sportsmanship about it. But you've got 2 other bins. Do you have kind of any idea what you're going to put on them, or is it a surprise, or do you have a kind of target audience that you're going to try and engage with it?
So for the other 2 bins, it's the same sort of system where, you know, it's a ballot where you're voting for either side. And the ideas that we've sort of come up with that is, you know, which came first, the chicken or the egg, and, you know, what's better, Oasis or Blur. So it kind of reaches that wider audience. So we've got that main one for targeting our direct audience of students in Hyde Park with the logos. You know, it's direct reference for them, something they're passionate about. But then for the other two boxes to be sort of captivate a wider audience, you know, maybe kids and adults around Leeds can get involved. And it's that same sort of concept where it's not only just a bin to put your mask in, but it kind of gives people that power to, you know, people, I think, like that power to vote for what they believe in. And hopefully that's going to instigate, you know, collecting a lot more masks and have more of an outreach than just the students. That's why we wanted to have a selection of 3.
We also made sure the design was quite easy and clear. So it's really just 2 slots. It's very clear, like you can see everything. There's info to go to our Instagram if you want more information as well, which is quite good. But as Luke said, like we try to keep it very simple so it could also reach children, because that would be the best thing would be for the next generation to kind of know to do that all the time, to recycle and cut the strings and all that. So we make a difference.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to be able to actually see what's in both boxes, because then people are going to be staying competitive about it. So I'll be like, oh, Uniop's winning, oh, Beckett's winning. So
Definitely.
I think that'd be great. So you're going to put them out. Obviously, you guys are 3rd year, so you'll be finishing, graduating soon, becoming proper grown-ups. What are your kind of plans to monitor the bins, or do you have any kind of idea on how long they'll be up, or is it just we're going to keep them up as long as they're needed for, and as long as Reworked will take them?
Well, so I mean, for me personally, I think, you know, we're aiming to get them up, test the waters, see the response. You know, as we say, it's the first 3,000 masks that we can collect that Reworked have sponsored us for. But, you know, I think our real aim, you know, we'll be leaving end of June when our let ends, is to try and pass on this contact we've made, these bins that we've made, and this service to someone else that can keep it going. Because, you know, like I say, I think in the coming months, if restrictions are going to continue to ease, then more and more masks are going to be, you know, disregarded. And I think it's really important to us to see that they go through the same process through Reworked and not ending up on the streets. So for us, it's, you know, we're going to be monitoring them whilst we're still in Leeds, but by the end of June, when we start to go off and, you know, move away, it'd be really great to pass this on to someone else and not have to take them down. That is the sort of ideal situation. I think that's our goal.
Yeah, that'd be great to kind of like leave a legacy.
Yeah, well, I think what we're aiming for really is to, I guess, hoping that it's going to see a big enough response that we can kind of convince someone to take it over for us, kind of, whether that be sort of the university sustainability team or fellow students or the council.
Yeah, I suppose that's the kind of sweet sorrow of it, that you guys have come to your 3rd year and you're going to do this amazing thing and leave a legacy, and everyone be like, oh my gosh, that was those graphic students, and they put this up, but you're not really going to be able to be here to like watch over your project baby.
Yeah, we want it to spark a more permanent solution. You know, it kind of comes back to, you know, when we were thinking about this structure and we saw Jack Colmer's bin bag dispenser in Hyde Park, the way he speaks about it to us is that, you know, it's a temporary fix. He wants it to initiate something else. He wants the council to try and come up with a more permanent solution. He's been contacted by numerous people to try and do the same in London, you know.
Wow.
And we're hoping that these will get the same sort of traction where we can pass it on to someone, you know, and it will really start to spark collecting face masks and making sure that they're disposed of properly and recycled.
Yeah. So, because obviously myself and Mark approached you guys in end of October last year, November last year, and obviously, you know, pandemics were changing. We had a couple of different kind of changing circumstances. It was difficult for you guys to get together and to build. We went through a couple of different designs. But after we saw Jack's bins, and obviously you guys were getting close to the end of your year, for some of the original ideas and designs that we made earlier, that was enough to complete the academic side of the project, but you guys have sort of followed it on and gone, no, I really want to see something actually come from this. And
yeah, I think
mentioned Jack, but
yeah, I think that sort of comes back to what we've kind of all been saying about why we wanted to get involved in the project in the first place. You know, it's genuinely something that we care about, and as much as we'd already ticked the boxes academically and completed the project for uni, we really wanted to see it have a positive impact. And so it wasn't enough for us to just have a piece of design that wasn't, you know, concrete as a structure. We really wanted to have something that was actually going to make a difference. You know, we put a lot of time and effort and come together to try and think of some really good ideas. And, you know, once we came up with this final design, you know, I didn't want to let it not happen. So, you know, seeing the traction and how effective Jack's structure was at cleaning up Woodhouse Moor, I knew there was an opportunity there for us to, you know, do something similar, but with clearing up the face masks.
Yeah, and hopefully maybe inspire other councils, other students.
Exactly.
It will kind of have the domino effect, because, you know, someone's got to do it first for everyone else to go, that looks good.
Yeah, it's the spark to hopefully a large fire that's going to burn for a while and, you know, have a big impact.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, this has been going on since October. A lot of project planning, a lot of changes of circumstances because of COVID and all that kind of stuff. But what was the kind of biggest challenge that you guys have faced, either individually or as a team, with this project?
Yeah, I think the main challenge we faced as a team was, you know, realizing our designs. You know, we're graphic design students, and it was easy enough for us to come up with the concepts, but, you know, when it actually came to realizing it and trying to get it up, obviously we were hit with numerous health and safety problems that pushed us back, you know, held us back from attaining the funding that we needed. So there was lots of pushbacks, but, you know, we managed to work our way around them and arrive at a solution that, you know, easily fundable. You know, our old solution would have cost about £8,000, and we're now at a solution that's only costing us about 200 in total, but still has the same effectiveness, we think, and is still sustainable. You know, made out of fully sustainable materials. Even the lid itself of the bins is made out of recycled face masks at its core, which is the material that rework turned the face mask into. So we've kind of got this full cycle thing where our bins are made out of face masks for recycling face masks, which is just great.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Luke said, it's sort of just been finding kind of an outcome that would meet all of the requirements we had, you know, being sort of cost effective, sustainable, still meeting the brief, following all the COVID restrictions, just doing everything sort of safely and properly. I think none of us were really realized how much was kind of involved in making a sort of a real professional project like this.
Yeah, I think it made us better graphic designers in those terms, just because I think none of us had any idea of how many things we had to think through apart from the actual design. So I'm really grateful to have done this, because it really made me a better graphic designer, and I'm sure everyone can agree on that one.
Absolutely.
We all grew up a bit doing this, so it's great.
For sure, it was like the best, you know, experience of real life briefs, you know, working with clients and seeing the constraints that can happen with a project. I think it was a great experience for us, and the perfect time, you know, the end of our third year, right as we're about to go into our careers. I think it's just been a really good experience for that.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I think this would be a really great talking point for when you can go and do other interviews. You can be like, oh, I did this, because again, you had satisfied your academic modules, you guys chose to carry this on.
Yeah.
Which is, obviously you've got the support of the university, but this is all kind of now a student-led project that we are supporting, which is
very much. Yeah, I think, you know, sorry, Gemma, to interrupt.
No.
I was just going to say, you know, when we arrived at this final solution and we were told that we'd met the brief, the way I sort of spoke about it to the rest of the team was that it was very much a DIY arts project. You know, sort of see it in that way and, you know, try and think of it in the most fun way as possible. You know, on this past Sunday, we all just got together, got all our materials together and just started to build with Jack. And it was a really good day, and so nice to see something coming out of all the hours that we put into it, you know, something physical. I think we can all agree on that. So for me personally, that's the reason why we wanted to continue it.
Yeah, I think it's a really great design. Obviously, we went through a lot of amazing designs earlier on in the project, but I think this final design, it's so authentic and you can tell it's something that, you know, you really wanted to get it done. So it's been done, and it's simple. It's the less is more. It's going to spark the right kind of conversations. And yeah, I just think it's, or I hope it's going to get a really amazing response, and I think it will, because again, you've got a full circle. You guys have chosen to carry it on. It's going to be everywhere. Everyone's going to be taking pictures of it. Obviously, it's just as some restrictions are being lessened, so more people can go out and gather together, so more people are going to see it. And yeah, I think it's all fell very well.
Yeah,
and so again, we've spoke about reworked and kind of the full circle element of, you've got some reworked material on the lid and all the wood's going to be sustainable, and then you're going to obviously send it off for rework to reuse it. Do you guys think that you will continue to choose more sustainable materials? Because obviously that was part of the brief, for it to be as sustainable as possible all the way through. Do you think you'll carry this on, and this will be something that you look at when choosing your own materials, even if it's for a project that isn't necessarily aimed for sustainability?
I think for me, you know, the research that's gone into it made me realise to be a lot more sustainably conscious when approaching any brief, really, to try and, you know, minimise that footprint, because, you know, I've seen the statistics and I've seen how it is actually affecting our planet. So yeah, it's definitely something that I'm going to take forward with me, you know, into my career, as much as I can have a say for it to be, you know. So for me personally, yeah, it's definitely changed the way that I work and approach projects.
I think generally Leeds Beckett's sort of done very well in teaching us about kind of the importance of using sustainable materials anyway. But doing this project has definitely sort of put it more into scale to see those statistics. And I guess sort of when you work on it for so long, everywhere you go, you kind of start spotting masks more and more and more, and you start to see how big of a problem it actually is. And I think it's definitely made me sort of more want to use sustainable materials.
Yes, me too. I can only agree. After like making so much research about it, you just realize how you can't do without. I feel like our generation, we kind of have to. We can't just discard it and just think, oh, it's fine. Like, I can just use plastic. I can just use this and that. Like, you've got to be conscious about it, because at the end of the day, it's our planet and we only have one. So might as well take care of it.
Yeah, that's great. It's great to hear that obviously you'd already been taught in your course that it's important to use sustainable materials, but I agree, once you start looking at things like this, you can't not see it. When I first started working in sustainability, I was like, oh, I like it because I like the outside, and the more you learn, the more you notice. So even something like this, someone's going to see the face mask bins and go, oh, I didn't think it was that much of a problem, and then they'll see them everywhere.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's all of my questions. Do you guys want to remind the audience on your campaign, your Instagram handle?
Yeah, Steen, you want to go ahead?
Oh. Oh. Well, the Face Mask Project, on Instagram, our account is Face Mask Project, so you can just type this. Our logo is two mask crossing, so you should find it quite easily. We're developing our post on there. We're going to post some pictures of the actual structures we've created. And we also post quotes and facts and illustrations as well to kind of like spark up conversations and stuff. So you can find us on there, and it will be on the structures as well.
Awesome. Check, cut, chuck. Amazing.
Yes.